Have you sold or bought a property and need to know more about what needs to happen and how long it takes? There are many processes that needs to be followed by the attorney to facilitate the registration of the property. A property transaction starts when a buyer views a property and makes a written offer to buy the property, either through an agent or privately and directly to the seller. After the seller accepts the offer to purchase, it becomes the agreement of sale between the seller and the buyer. There might be suspensive conditions in the written agreement of sale, which basically means that certain things need to happen first before the sale is final and binding. For example, should the buyer have to obtain a loan from the bank to finance the purchase of the property? The transfer process starts once these suspensive conditions have been fulfilled and the attorney receives the signed agreement of sale. The seller and purchaser will be contacted and consulted with in order to sign transfer documents, discuss and explain the transfer process. Thereafter, the attorney shall request cancellation figures from the seller's current bank if the property is still financed by a bank. If the purchase price is paid by a bank loan, the buyer will need to sign bond registration documents with the attorneys that the bank will appoint. The bond attorneys will supply guarantees for the payment of the purchase price. If you are looking for a property, remember to ask for quotations for the transfer and bond costs, as this will need to be paid to the respective attorneys as soon as possible after the process starts. A receipt from SARS needs to be obtained in every transaction to prove that value-added tax or transfer duty has been paid, if applicable. The transfer attorney will be responsible for submitting the details of the transaction to SARS, collecting the amount payable from the purchaser, and paying it over to SARS to receive this receipt. The clearance figures are requested from the local municipality and paid by the attorney to obtain a clearance certificate, to prove that the seller does not owe the municipality any money on the property being registered. Certain compliance certificates will also need to be obtained depending on what is applicable, for example, electricity, electric fence, gas or beetle certificates. Once all of the above is in place, the transfer attorney will be ready to lodge the transaction for registration in the deeds office. All attorneys involved in the transaction need to lodge simultaneously, and thus their processes needs to be complete as well before the transfer attorney will be able to lodge. Once lodgement has taken place and once the examination process in the deeds office is complete, the transaction will be registered by the attorneys involved. Only after registration, we can say that the buyer is the lawful owner of the property. The process to register is a complex process and can only be done by an attorney that specializes in property and has completed additional examinations to be admitted as a conveyancer. At Mervyn Joel Smith Attorneys, we pride ourselves in making this process as simple and as easy as possible for our clients.